Hi everybody, I'm Rhonda with the Stitch and Time Embroidery Designs, and tonight we are going to do a quick tutorial on fringe embroidery designs. Aren't these adorable? Okay, this is a baby chick that just came out, and this is our fringe flamingo. We also have a fringed lamb. We have some fringe flowers too, and a couple of mini quilts that actually incorporate a couple of these fringe designs on them, but you can also get them by themselves to put maybe on a beach bag or a shirt or a towel or whatever you want to stitch them on. But some of you have never done fringe designs before, and it's simply done the way it is digitized. You can trim threads on the back of it after it is all done, and it'll come out like this. So we've created a practice fringe design, which I will upload into our Facebook group so that you guys can download it for free and you can practice fringing before you stitch one of our fringe designs on something. You'll have a little bit of practice first. So I'm going to walk you through stitching this out on the machine, which is super easy. It's not any different than anything else. And then I'll take you to the cutting table and show you how we make these stitches look like that. Okay, so let's get started. All right, so I did speed this up, to make this whole tutorial pretty short. So what we're doing right now is we're just going to stitch 2 lines of 9mm wide satin stitches with no underlay, and I'm jumping through this just to be quick. So it's going to stitch 3 running stitches all the way across the top of it that locks in those stitches, so when we're trimming it for fringe, they'll stay in place. We're going to do 2 lines of that just so I can show you the 2 different types of fringe that I wanted to show you tonight: regular fringe and loopy fringe. And it just depends on how you trim it to make it look like that. And then we're also going to do a quick stitch out of what we use to make our animal designs: the flamingo, lamb, baby chicken, things like that. We put a base down of a light density fill stitch so that after the fringe is trimmed, you'll still see pink underneath it, or whatever color that you stitched it in. We also put a color change in between that base layer and the semicircle fringe all on top of it, just in case, for instance, if you stitch out our lamb design, you want it to have white fur. So it'll give you the opportunity to stop and change the bobbin thread to a different color so that you can see it. And you'll see why when we turn this over to the back and we go to trim it. Now, what we've done with the fringe on our animals is we've created all these little semicircles. Some of them overlap each other, so that it does take a little bit longer to trim up than the regular just straight line of fringe right there. And I'll show you how easy that is to do. It's a little tedious, but it's still easy to do. Anybody can do this. All right, so that's almost done stitching out there. And we'll go on our cutting table and show you what to do. Okay, so we have our practice fringe stitches off of the machine, and I'm going to show you how to do 2 different types of fringe with these 2 straight ones, and then we'll just practice a little bit on this one because it is similar to what we use on some of our fringe animal designs. So you'll need a toothbrush or other small brush, something to pull up the fringe with. We're using this clover tool here. I think it's called a stiletto, but you could also use this little, I forgot what you call it. Oh, the purple thing or something like that. Anything that can pull it up, pull up the edges of them like that. Okay, and you'll need a small scissors, of course. So we'll turn it over to the back, and the first one I'm going to show you, this yellow one, we're going to make it a straight fringe, or what you might call a fuzzy fringe. When we're done, it's going to kind of look like the fringe that you buy in sewing stores, to put on the edges of things. And to do that, you simply cut all the way at the edge Let me see if I can bring this in a little closer so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, that's better. We're going to cut all the way on the opposite end, not the end that has this little stitching. See this little stitching right here? That's what's locking our stitches in. So when we cut them, it's not going to fall apart. That is holding it together. So we don't want to cut on that end. We want to cut on the opposite end. So we've cut all the way through there. The toothbrush is simply to clean all that off and, you know, just dust it out, pull the loose threads from there. So we can see that we have loosened it all like that. Don't use any family member's toothbrush. Make sure you use a new one that no one is using. And for this one, we're going to make like a loopy fringe. So we're going to cut through the bobbin thread. So we want to cut right down the center through all of this white bobbin thread right here. Okay, so this is going to make a loopy fringe on the front. And let's turn it over to the front side and see what we have there. Okay, so now you'll use whatever tool you have and you'll just pull it all up like that. And I don't know if you can see this or not. It's not attached anymore, see? And the ends are just cut. Like I said, it looks kind of like the fringe that you might buy to put, you know, on the edge of something that you're stitching. It's just loose, nice little fringe. Kind of reminds me of that stuff that they put around the bottom of a Mardi Gras float. Yes, I'm in the New Orleans area. Okay, so this is the loopy fringe, and you'll have to pull it a little bit with this. It's not going to pull out as easily because it's further into the back. So we'll just kind of pop it all up. And you'll see it looks a little messy, and that's why I like to use it for our animal designs, because it's loopy and it's a little messy, so it looks a little bit more. You can make it look like fur a little bit more than you can this straight kind. So depending on what you want your fringe to look like, you can cut it all the way at the edge on the back side, or cut the bobbin stitches and you'll have this loop. This loopy kind instead. So those are the two different kinds that I promised to show you. This is the type of fringe that we put on some of our animal designs. If you've seen our flamingo, our lamb, and our little baby chicken, we used something like this so that we could get that swirly fur look on it. And these are layered. Some of them are on top each other, so they're going to take a little more work. It's not as straightforward as just cutting the edges or the bobbin like that. And as you can see, it's a little harder to do on the back. The bobbin threads are not real even on here, but we're still going to make it work. And if you are stitching the little lamb and you used white thread, we put this stitching out in two parts. We have like a background for it, if you watched in the video, a background stitches, so that if I'm using it on an animal, when I fringe it, it's still going to have pink underneath it, so that it won't be just empty like this underneath. We don't want it like that on our animal. So we put a light density background behind this so that it would, you know, help it look a little bit better on the flamingo, chicken, whatever we're using it on. And some of these, like I said, are layered on top each other. So we're going to have to flip it back and forth a couple of times. What we're going to do first, and this one's going to kind of have a mixture since these bobbin lines are not straight, that you can, you know, you're going to end up clipping some pink and some white. So it's going to be a mixture, which actually works out great for animals. What we're going to do, we're going to try to do though, is we are going to try to clip through those bobbin stitches, the bobbin threads. So just start clipping as much of these white stitches as you can. It's only the longer stitches. We don't want to go too far down because we don't want to cut this base stitching that's down there. You just want to cut these longer stitches on top of that. So don't go too far down. You just want to clip all these long stitches. I'm trying to pay attention to make sure you guys can see this on the camera. So I keep looking up and it's making me go a little bit slower. All right. I kind of like doing tedious work like this. I don't know why. Put a movie on and mess with these kind of designs. And if you get somewhere where you have to cut through pink long stitches, that's fine. I actually like the way it looks with a mixture of straight and loopy things. And as you cut, you're going to see it kind of looks like a hot mess back here. And you'll think, oh gosh, I might not ever get all of them, but you will, because we're going to go to the front and pull some of these through. And when we pull them through, it'll make the ones that you haven't cut yet on the back more visible. So it is a little bit more tedious, but I do love the look of the swirly fringe on the animal designs. Okay, so I think I've cut a lot of it. So we can take our little toothbrush. See, and just brushing it with the toothbrush, you can see where I missed some spots. I missed these right here. So I'll cut through those. I see some right here that I missed. And here. And this is a little hard to do because I'm not leaning my head over and looking through this, because I don't want my head in the way. All right, so got that like that. We're brushing it. Let's turn it over to the front and see where we're at. So just take this and work it up. See what we got here. Pull as many as you can up. And you'll see here's a little stubborn spot right here. It's probably because I didn't clip those stitches on the back. And after we pull all these out, as many as we can, just going to flip it to the back side and we'll clip a few more. And you'll see underneath this one, see we have pink underneath here, so you won't be able to see completely to the white fabric like you can underneath these. And that's what we want. Okay, so I'm just kind of scratching along here and pulling out as many as I can like this. So let's flip it back to the other side. Give it a brush again with our little toothbrush. It's pulling some of that stuff out of there. And then, of course, you can see more. You can see right here where I have some more to cut. Right there, so we'll snip that. I see some more right here. And up here, there's some more to cut. I think I have a little bit here and here. And usually I'll do this, you know, until I'm happy with the way the front looks. I saw someone in the group the other day stitched out one of our mini quilts that has a little lamb on it with the fringe stitching, and it kind of looks cute without even cutting the fringe because of that swirly look that this has on the front. And they left it like that, and it really looks cute. So if you're stitching out one of our animals and you think it looks cute like that, just leave it. All right, so let's go back to the front side and see what we have. Now we can pull out some of those spots that were a little stuck. See? I think that's where we had one stuck. So now, for the most part, it's all unstuck. If you want to keep going back and forth and get it perfectly, you can, but I think it looks fluffy enough like this. Don't you think it looks fluffy enough? All right, so that's the fringe on the animals. Let me see, I had a few things that I wanted to tell you guys. You want to use cutaway stabilizer. You don't want to use a wash away. The cutaway is going to help hold this in place even more. So remember that. Let me see if I can back this up a little bit more. Okay, so here are the things I wanted to tell you. The cutaway stabilizer, slow your stitching down to about 600 stitches per minute because these are wide stitches and you're going to notice your machine, you know, just kind of jumping back and forth like that. Do not resize fringe designs. Most of the time, our fringes are already almost at the max that a machine can do. They'll only stitch up to 12 millimeters back and forth like that. So if you try to make it bigger, then what you're going to see on your machine or on your software screen is missing stitches. They'll just like disappear if you make them too wide for the machine to stitch out. So we do not recommend resizing the fringe designs. And again, I think I already mentioned that, but if you're using white thread for the fringe, then you want to use a different color in the bobbin so that you can see it on the back side. And that's why we did our animals in 2 layers. One so that you can't see through it, and then after that base stitches you'll have a color change and you can change the bobbin thread just in the fringe part of the design so that you can see it. Let me see. Yep, that's it. So don't resize them. Use cutaway stabilizer, slow down your machine to 600 stitches per minute, and you can choose, if you have a design that has these straight stitches on them. We have some flower designs that are just in a circle, so you can either make them loopy or fringy like that, and our animal designs are done with that style of fringe. So hope this helps, and you guys post whatever fringe designs that you've purchased from us. We would love to see what you did with them. You can post them in our Facebook group. And thank you for joining me. Bye.